In Amoke village, the evenings always carried a quiet magic. The palm trees stood tall, whispering secrets to the wind. The red earth held memories older than the oldest elder. But on this particular night, the moon seemed fuller, as though it had climbed the sky just to watch a story begin. This is a story full of love, a story of destiny, and a story of a girl named Ugochi. On the night in Nnamdi's compound, Ugochi sat at the edge of her bamboo bed, her heart beating like a talking drum. The compound was quiet. Her father, Nnamdi, had just gone for the elders' council meeting. The housemaid had slept off earlier while pounding yam. The goats snored softly in their wooden pen. But, on the other hand, Ugochi slowly tied her wrapper tighter around her waist. Her hands trembled, but not from fear, but from excitement. She reached under her pillow and pulled out a small string bracelet, woven from a dried palm fiber, decorated with two tiny cowries. This was a gift from Kamari. She pressed it to her chest and smiled. But every girl in Amoke village dreamed of love. But on the other hand, Ugochi didn't just dream it. She felt it, burning like a warm fire in her veins. She stepped out carefully, not to make a sound. The night air wrapped around her like a cool cloth. After Hamatan heat, crickets sang their usual songs, but she moved quietly, like a shadow that had learned how to walk. Ugochi walked in the narrow path, her feet sinking into the soft red earth. The moon lit her way like the lantern blessed by the spirits. Every step she took reminded her of him, Kamari, the boy with gentle eyes and dreams bigger than the sky, the boy whose touch felt like the first rain after a long dry season, the boy her father forbade her to see. She held her breath as she approached the familiar clearing by the river. Fireflies danced in the distance, forming tiny lanterns in the dark. At the river bank, Kamari was already there. He stood barefoot on the river sand, holding a small calabash of palm wine, turning it nervously in his hands. His face brightened the moment he saw her. Ugochi, smiling softly, how can I stay away? He moved closer, slowly, like he feared she might have vanished. She stood still, waiting and wanting. Their fingers brushed, and the world paused. In that little moment, the river forgot to flow, the wind forgot to move, and even the fireflies seemed to freeze midair. Because some touches are not just touches, they are stories written in skin. They both sat beside the river, their feet touching the cool water. Kamari poured palm wine into the two small cups he carved himself. Kamari said to Ugochi, I will be a real healer one day, and people will come from all the villages to seek help from me. I'll build a home strong enough to keep us safe. Ugochi replied, and I will fill the home with joy, with peace, with laughter, and with children. Kamari's heart skipped. He leaned closer, touching his forehead to hers. As long as the ancestors allows breath in my body, I will always love you, Ugochi. But just as love grows in quiet places, envy also hides in the shadows. At the edge of the tree, watching them was Ikena. His hand clenched, his chest tightened with burning jealousy. He had always admired Ugochi. He had always believed she would marry him. He had already dreamed of the cattle he would offer her father and already imagined the children they would raise. But yet she was, giving her heart to a boy who owned nothing but dreams. His voice came out in bitter whisper. So this is the boy stealing what belongs to me. He narrowed his eyes, determined that this night would not be the end of this matter. Afterwards, Kamari walked Ugochi halfway to her father's compound. He stood under the old mango tree. I can't go any further. If your father sees me, my bones might be used to make soup. Ugochi laughed, squeezing his hands. One day he's going to know your worth. Even Stone's heart softens with time. She stepped closer, leaning, saying goodnight to Kamari. Kamari replied, "Sleep inside my heart, Ugochi." And that's how they parted ways reluctantly. Ugochi arrived home. She stepped back into the compound quietly. But someone else was awake, her father, Namdi. And immediately he saw her, he screamed, "Where are you coming from, Ugochi?" Ugochi froze, her heart pounding so loudly, she feared he could hear it. Ugochi replied, "I just went out to get some air." Nnamdi stood up slowly. "Do not lie to me, Ugochi. I smell the truth on your skin, and I swear by the ancestors, whatever you're hiding, I will uncover it." He walked away while being angry. And so the first night ended, with love in the air, danger in the shadows, and a storm quietly preparing itself in the distance. Little did Ugochi know that this love, gentle as moonlight, would soon be tested by fire very soon. As seasons shifted, Ugochi discovered something that both terrified and delighted her. She was carrying Kamari's child. When she told him by the river, Kamari fell to his knees, not in shame, but in joy. "You carry my future," he whispered. But when Inamdi discovered that pregnancy, his pride burned like dry Hamilton grass. "No daughter of mine will carry a poor man's disgrace," he declared. And in secret, he made a decision that will wound generations forever. When Ugochi gave birth to a baby girl under a stormy sky, she held the child close. She named her Ngala, meaning radiant. But before the sunrise, Nnamdi took the baby away. He gave Ngala to the distant family in another village and told Ugochi that the child had died. And that night, something inside Ugochi broke. And broken hearts sometimes call sickness. Soon after, Ugochi began coughing blood. Her once bright eyes dimmed. Her laughter faded. Dr. Obidike, a scientist working secretly on a rare preservation method, made an offer. "There is a way to save her," he told Nnamdi, "but it's an experimental way. She will sleep, and time will move without her." Nnamdi agreed, without Kamari's knowledge and without Ugochi's consent. The village was told she had died. Kamari screamed her name at an empty grave. He swore that the ancestors had betrayed him. But beneath the earth, in an hidden laboratory, Ugochi did not die. She slept for 20 years. Time is stubborn, you know. It doesn't wait for love. Kamari aged, his shoulders broadened with responsibilities. Grief carved quiet lines into his face. He eventually married Shama, a gentle woman who loved him with patience. They both built a life and had children, but part of his heart remained buried beside Ugochi's memory. Meanwhile, Ngala grew into a striking young woman, unaware that the dead girl she resembled in old village whispers was her mother. Then, one night, in a sterile room filled with human machines, Ugochi's fingers moved, her eyes opened, but had not aged a day. But the world had. A woman out of time. When Ugochi stepped out again, Amoke looked both familiar and foreign. Children who had chased goats are now elders. Friends had grey hair. And Kamari stood there as a man she barely recognized. He was older, stronger, and married. Their reunion by the river was heavy. "I buried you," Kamari whispered. "And I woke up calling your name," Ugochi replied. The love was still there, but life had been complicated, and life had complicated everything. On the other hand, Ikenna had never married. He claimed no woman measured up to Ugochi's memory. When he learned that she was alive, his heart ignited. "Fate has returned you to me," he told her. "We offered protection, status, security, but love cannot be forced into shape, no matter how much gold surrounds it."
Ngala eventually learned the truth. The woman who had been sleeping for 20 years was her mother. At first, anger consumed her. You left me, she cried. But the truth is a stubborn seed. Once planted, it grows. When she learned her father had given her away, her anger turned into tears. Mother and daughter embraced under the same moon that once watched Ugochi and Kamari fall in love. And here, Kamari was faced with an impossible choice. Kamari stood between two worlds. Chioma, the woman who stood by him for years, and Ugochi, the woman his soul never released. Chioma saw the truth in his eyes. One evening, she said quietly, "You never stopped loving her." Kamari lowered his head. Chioma did something only strong women could do. She let him go. Not in bitterness, but in dignity. And days later, Ikena confronted Kamari. "You have always taken what is mine." And Kamari responded calmly, "Love is not a cattle to be claimed." For the first time, Ikena saw clearly. Ugochi's heart had never been with him. And so he left Amoke, choosing peace over obsession. And here, Ugochi was faced by her father, Nnamdi. Years had softened him. Regret weighed heavy on his shoulders. "I thought I was protecting you," he said, "but I stole your child and your years." Tears fell freely from his eyes. Ugochi forgave him because sometimes forgiveness is the only bridge between pain and peace. And finally, the return to the river. At sunset, Kamari and Ugochi stood once more where everything began. The same river, the same breeze, but wiser hearts. 20 years tried to silence us, Kamari said, but love waited. Ugochi smiled, and this time, nothing would freeze us apart. They held hands, not as reckless youths, but as survivors of time. Ngala watched from a distance, smiling softly. A family restored, and a love reborn. And so, Amoke village learned something that day. Time may stretch, pride may wound, secrets may bury truth, but love has a stubborn spirit. It sleeps, it waits, it survives the storms, and when destiny calls its name, it rises again, just like Ugochi.